Hello, my name is Dr. Elias Thorne. I am a neurosurgeon. I wasn't looking for fame. I was looking for salvation for my patients suffering from a complex, degenerative brain disease. Medicine in the U.S. is a business, but I believed I could change that.
Over years of research, I developed the Cerebral Signature Protocol, CSP. This was a non-invasive, AI-driven method that allowed us not only to diagnose the disease at an early stage with 99% accuracy, but also to initiate a self-healing process through targeted impact. The key, CSP was cheap and virtually side effect-free, rendering the existing toxic and expensive drugs from PharmaCorp unnecessary. It was the greatest achievement in neurobiology.
My mentor and head of the Center for Neurobiology in Boston was Professor Alistair Vance. He was a legend, and I trusted him like a father. He helped me with research, but always insisted that the patents should be filed under the center's name for greater protection. Vance always said we needed to collaborate with PharmaCorp for scaling. PharmaCorp, a giant that earned billions from lifelong, expensive treatment for this neurodegenerative disease. My method was an existential threat to them.
Vance convinced me that for final trials and federal approval, FDA, I had to submit all my primary data, algorithms, and the full protocol to the center. He said this was necessary for objective auditing and safety. I signed a non-disclosure and data transfer agreement with the center, which I believed contained guarantees of my full authorship and control.
Just 1 month after transferring the data, CSP was successfully applied to the final trial patient. The medical world was stunned. The next day, I woke up famous. But exactly 1 week later, everything collapsed. I arrived at work, but my electronic key didn't work. Guards blocked me from entering my own lab. In my email, I found a message from the hospital's legal department. It stated that, during the audit, serious methodological violations were found in your data, questioning the scientific integrity of CSP. Simultaneously, Professor Vance gave an interview on all federal news channels. With a face full of sorrow, he announced that Dr. Thorne is a genius, but his methods have unfortunately proven to be unsubstantiated and dangerous to patients. Vance announced that the center was forced to prohibit the use of CSP and that all data had been handed over to PharmaCorp for study and the development of a safe alternative. They didn't just steal my invention, they stole the hope of thousands of patients to protect their billions. And I realized Vance was merely a puppet in the hands of the corporate giant. The legal storm hit me instantly. The hospital and PharmaCorp filed joint lawsuits accusing me of violating the center's intellectual property rights and misuse of resources. My accounts were frozen, and my own legal defense crumbled under the weight of their corporate resources and the fabricated evidence provided by Vance. I was left jobless and penniless. A month later, the state medical board revoked my license. The basis was an official conclusion by Professor Vance, which labeled my CSP method as a dangerous precedent undermining treatment standards. I was publicly declared an unscientific quack who played with patients' lives for personal glory. My reputation was destroyed. I could no longer practice medicine in the U.S. The most cynical blow followed soon after. PharmaCorp held a lavish press conference announcing a breakthrough. They launched a new, incredibly expensive drug, Tri-Spectra, for the neurodegenerative disease. A company representative stated that the Tri-Spectra treatment protocol integrated, quote, the most effective diagnostic elements developed by the Neurobiology Center, unquote. Of course, this was my stolen, slightly modified, and patented CSP, which they now use to justify the astronomical cost of their toxic treatment. I realized this war wasn't about medicine. It was about monopoly. My method, which was supposed to save lives for free, was now being used to extract money as an add-on to their poisonous pills. The legal system was useless because of protected patent law, backed by PharmaCorp's billions, not the truth. I left Boston feeling completely lost. But even without a license and a lab, I had something priceless: the clean, original CSP algorithms and my knowledge. I decided that if I couldn't treat people within the legal system, I would treat them outside of it.
I connected with a small community of former colleagues and IT specialists who believed in me. We began working in absolute secrecy, using donations. My goal was to create a global, anonymous, AI-driven telemedicine platform that could apply the CSP algorithms for patient diagnosis worldwide, operating outside the jurisdiction of the FDA and PharmaCorp. I named this project Project Aesculapius, after the Greek god of medicine. This was my underground clinic, protected by code and necessity. Project Aesculapius began operating in absolute secrecy. We built a decentralized, encrypted network where patients worldwide could anonymously upload their diagnostic images and data. My original CSP algorithm worked flawlessly. I couldn't treat them directly, but I could give them accurate diagnoses and recommendations based on my method, finding legal loopholes in their local jurisdictions. Our project quickly became a phenomenon in the shadow medical community. In anonymous forums, patients left glowing testimonials confirming that my banned method gave them hope and accurate information, while PharmaCorp's expensive Tri-Spectra treatment failed and caused monstrous side effects. To them, I was an anonymous prophet.
Naturally, PharmaCorp sensed the threat. They couldn't locate or shut down our decentralized service, but they began filing aggressive international lawsuits for patent infringement against any private clinics or doctors who, they suspected, used even remotely similar diagnostic methods. This was pure legal terror, aimed at stopping the spread of my idea.
In the middle of this legal war, Sophia contacted me. She wasn't a doctor, but one of the highest-paid international patent lawyers, specializing in protecting creators' rights against corporations. She handled complex cases of corporate theft. She reached out to me through 3 layers of encryption and got straight to the point.
Dr. Thorne, I don't know who you are, but I know that PharmaCorp is hunting you, she said. They are patenting your CSP method worldwide, but with one legal flaw. They cannot prove that their Tri-Spectra is an original invention. I tracked your original unpatented research papers, and I am certain you are their victim. I don't want money. I want to destroy a monopoly and show that the right to an invention belongs to its creator.
My past experience had taught me extreme caution. Trust was my biggest failure. But Sophia dealt in facts and code. She proposed not fighting PharmaCorp in the U.S., where they controlled the medical board, but filing a countersuit in the International Patent Court, using my original, untainted data as proof of theft.
Sophia became my shield. She took over the entire legal defense of Project Aesculapius, using her reputation and international connections to neutralize PharmaCorp's attacks. For the first time in a long time, I felt I had an ally who believed not in my fame, but in my truth, protected by international law.
The encrypted network of Project Aesculapius became a global phenomenon that was impossible to stop. Our influence grew to the point where anonymous success stories of patients helped by my method began leaking from medical forums into major news networks in Europe and Asia. Journalists didn't know who was behind Project Aesculapius, but they saw the clear contrast: free, accurate diagnosis versus expensive, useless Tri-Spectra.
The collapse of PharmaCorp began with their own product, Their Tri-Spectra drug failed independent international clinical reevaluations due to catastrophic side effects and near-zero long-term efficacy. The company's stock plummeted. The public began questioning, how did such a toxic and ineffective drug receive accelerated FDA approval when the CSP method existed?
At this critical moment, Sophia delivered our strike. She filed a devastating countersuit in the International Patent Court. As key evidence of the theft, she presented the world with the original untainted CSP dataset that I gave to Vance and compared it with the fake audit Vance used to revoke my license.
Sophia proved that Professor Vance didn't just make a mistake, he willfully fabricated data regarding my method's ineffectiveness to help PharmaCorp patent it for their toxic treatment. She framed it not as a medical error, but as a global corporate conspiracy aimed at deceiving consumers and protecting a monopoly. Vance became the face of betrayal.
I turned on the news and saw what I had dreamed of. Professor Alistair Vance, once a Boston legend, looked pathetic and humiliated, leaving court surrounded by PharmaCorp lawyers. Vance, who betrayed me for prestige and stocks, was under investigation and his reputation was destroyed. PharmaCorp's lawyers reached out to me through an encrypted channel. They were panicking. Their offer was humiliating. I had to immediately withdraw the international lawsuit, and in return, they would guarantee my license restoration in the U.S. and offer me a lead consultant position with a multi-million-dollar stock package to save their Tri-Spectra drug. My reply was brief and final. I wrote, "My method is now protected not by your patents, but by millions of anonymous patients. I do not trade lives, and I do not save monopolies. You stole my work to gain billions. I created a system that will render your work useless. Find another quack."
This was my final victory. My name was cleared internationally, Vance was destroyed, and PharmaCorp faced multi-billion-dollar fines. My invention, though not FDA approved, with saving lives globally, staying out of the reach of corporate predators.
Today, Project Aesculapius is more than just a platform. It is proof that true ethical medicine can exist. We use decentralized technologies to provide millions of people with access to accurate diagnosis, bypassing bureaucracy and greed. My license has not yet been restored in the U.S., but I no longer need it. My office is the entire world, and my patients are all who seek the truth.
As for my enemies, Professor Alistair Vance was stripped of his federal license. His name was erased from the history of the Neurobiology Center, and he himself became the subject of a fraud investigation. He traded his legendary reputation for a few shares of PharmaCorp that ultimately proved worthless.
Sophia became my permanent partner and protector. She taught me that in the modern world, technology is the greatest ethical tool. It is the algorithm, not the paper, that protects an invention. It is patient trust, not a license, that determines your value. I lost faith in the system, but gained faith in the power of independent knowledge. Many colleagues who were silent when I was discredited now write to me, asking how to join Project Aesculapius. I always tell them, if your invention saves lives, it must be protected from those who trade in death. Build your own system. I lost everything I had in Boston, but I saved my invention and my mission. I proved that ethics in medicine is not dead. It just went underground, protected by code and community. With my victory, I created hope for thousands of people, but I broke the law and bypassed the very system that is supposed to protect patients. Tell me, did Dr. Thorne do the right thing by operating outside the law to save lives? Or should he have continued the fight in the legal but corrupted court system?
Write your opinion in the comments. If this story about the triumph of ethics and science over PharmaCorp's greed resonated with you, subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Let's prove that a patient's life is more important than patent law.